Hi, this is Paul Palmer. Today I want to talk about LMS, a learning management system. One of the problems when you're a contractor is you have to do the training for all the different companies that you're involved in. Now, if you're an employee, it's not so difficult to remember the number of SOPs that you've been through and to log them on a paper form. But when you're a contractor, once you've done one company and you've done another company and another company, and they're all doing it a different way, and they're all logging them on the paper, it's hard to remember whether you've done the log for the SOP that they're asking you about or not. And having to go back through pages and pages of records takes time. So it's a lot easier to use a learning management system. Now, it's not just easier for contractors. So if you're using a learning management system and you're the manager for the training department, so you're the training manager, it's much easier to know if everybody's up to date or not. If not, you have to go out and you have to do it on self-inspection, and you have to check each department. You can only check a percentage. How do you know if everybody's done their GDP training, their GMP training, or a specific SOP that's just been updated? It's really hard. So the easiest way to do it is to implement a learning management system. Now, most people now have their SOPs saved electronically, even if it's PDF. And then in most cases, the learning management system, you can add a copy of the SOP during the training period. It makes it much easier to distribute. And once you've distributed it that way and they've read it, you can monitor how long they're spending to learn the SOP. You can monitor their performance in the test afterwards, the quiz, whether they're passed or not, if they're passed first time or third time. And you get more control and more knowledge about the abilities of your team. And then when you want to see who's done all the SOPs, who's read them all, who's been working through their list in a timely manner, who's been doing them too late, you can get a report out of the learning management system. So if you're thinking about training, don't think about T-cards anymore. Think about using a learning management system. And when you're choosing the learning management system, think about the type of system that's going to fit in with the way you work. Now, I prefer the ones that are integrated with the documentation system, simply because then you can actually track implementation of the SOP once the training is complete. You can have all the feedback going through the system, and automatically it goes live when everybody's trained. Now, there is a downside to that, because then people don't know when they're going to be using the SOP from. So in some aspects, I like that approach, but in other aspects, I like to have a defined date that everybody has to work to. And if somebody fails to do their training on time, they can't do that activity until they've completed their training. Now, if you're using an electronic system, you can lock them out. You can block them from doing the activity until they complete the training. It's not as easy to do, and there's not all systems can do it. But that's a nice approach that you might want to consider. Okay, so how do you find the LMS? Well, there are so many. It's not really something that I can go into. But what I can say is, of the ones I've tried, the ones that are integrated with the documentation system are the most easiest to implement. So if you can, get one that does the two together, implement them at the same time, and then you can track your training on your new system within your LMS. And then the other thing to consider is validation. So I prefer cloud hosting. Microsoft Azure is quite common, but there are other alternatives. And something that you can control the updates. So you don't want automatic updates to be rolled out if you have to do the PQ for example, the process qualification, the final stage of your validation. If you're doing the validation yourself, it's always better if you've got control of the updates on your own site. Now, if the supplier is managing the updates and they're doing the validation for you, well, that's good, but make sure they're doing it right. Make sure you do some sort of verification work and confirm You've got sign off before the validation's signed off and approved fully. You've got to be the final signature. And then it goes live in your system once you're happy that it's acceptable. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks. It's Paul Palmer. Talk to you soon.